Welcome to Getting Sketchy Live, brought to you by thevirtualinstructor.com. And now, let's get sketchy.
Well, hello there, everyone. Matt here with thevirtualinstructor.com, and welcome to Getting Sketchy Live, the greatest live broadcast in all of YouTube. I'd like to welcome all of you from wherever you are all over the world. I was looking at the chat box before we went live. We got Norway, Australia, Ohio, Huntsville, Texas, Kuwait, Mexico, the UK, Canada, West Virginia, Arkansas. Guys, thanks for joining us here tonight. What we do on this broadcast is either myself or my good friend and fellow artist and art teacher Ashley Hurst tries to create a drawing for you inside of 45 minutes. And of course, we sprinkle in a little bit of art instruction with that as well. And tonight, I have been tasked with doing the drawing, and I've cheated a little bit. Not entirely, but kind of a little bit, and we'll get into that in just a minute. But first, I should say hello to Ashley, who's sitting right over there. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. I hope you are, Matt. Hello, everybody out there. Hope you guys are as well. Looking forward to what Matt has in store for us tonight. Last week, I drew a cafe in markers. This week, I believe Matt's going to go black and white.
That's right, because I have no choice but to go black and white. As most of you already know, we're spinning wheels this season. This is episode 8 of season 9. And one wheel has photo references that we picked ahead of time, and the other wheel has a specific drawing media. And I will spin both of the wheels tonight at the end of the broadcast, so make sure you stick around for that to see what Ashley's going to be drawing for
the final drawing
of this season. I said this was episode 8, but this is actually episode 9.
That's right.
Of season 9. So next week will be episode 10. We'll have a follow-up show after that, but it won't be the week after that, because the week after that will be the week in between Christmas and New Year's, and we're going to take that week off, and I would encourage you to enjoy time with your friends and family during that period, of course. But we'll be right back at the beginning of January for our follow-up show, where we go back through and take a look at all the drawings that we created this season, and we give them a quick critique. So we've got one more drawing episode that will be next week after tonight, and Ashley will be doing the drawing, and we'll take a look at what he's going to be drawing with and what subject matter he'll be drawing with later in the broadcast. I would remind you, there is a chat box, of course. If you're watching this live on YouTube, you can make comments and ask questions. They don't have to be about what we're doing tonight specifically. They can be anything art related, and Ashley and I will do our best to answer those questions for you. If you put your question or comment in all capital letters, that will help Ashley see it a little bit easier amongst all of the other comments and questions, because here on YouTube things get rolling pretty quick a lot of times, and it's a little bit hard to see some of your comments and questions. So if you put in capital letters, that will help. Of course, you can also do a super chat too, and your comment or question will also be noticed there as well.
Can't miss those.
Of course, there's more to the virtual instructor than just what you see here on YouTube. So if you're interested in taking your drawing and painting skills to another level, I would encourage you to head over to thevirtualinstructor.com and check out the membership program, which includes now 20 courses on a variety of drawing and painting subject matter and media. We also do weekly live lessons. So after tonight's broadcast, I will be continuing on for members at thevirtualinstructor.com in our current live lesson series, where we're working with oil pastels to do a fall landscape. And you also get access to all of the live lessons that have ever been published, and they go all the way back to 2012. So that is a lot of content. Plus, there is a year-long curriculum for visual arts teachers that is set up in a sequential order with all of the videos in our membership program that support the techniques and concepts that are taught as part of the Ultimate Lesson Plan. That, of course, is for art teachers. And there's also weekly critiques as part of the Members Minute, which are broadcast each week as well. So if you want to learn more about the program, there's a link in the description below. Of course, everyone starts out with a week-long trial for free, so you can see if the program's right for you. And if you want to just check out 3 of the course videos and ebooks for free, there's a link in the description below to check that out as well. That will also put you on our newsletter list, so that when I send out newsletter updates, which is usually about once a month, you can be included there. And you'll also get links to a lot of free content that's on the site already as well. I think is that everything?
Yeah, Reba Smith says that's the best deal on the internet. So thank you for that endorsement.
Yeah, thanks, Reba. I like to think so. It is priced in a manner so that pretty much it's affordable to anyone as well. We have monthly options and yearly options as well. I do want to point out that I'm going to be working from a photo reference, and if you want to follow along with your own personal photo reference, that's just like mine. If you go to the YouTube channel, and click on the community tab. That will take you to our community page where on YouTube, where you'll find a copy of this reference image that I'm going to be working from tonight. I'll have it up beside the artwork as I'm working, but if you want to have your own copy, that's where you can find it. Of course, now I think I've said everything. Is there anything?
I believe so. No, there's no more comments. Only that Hoot and Holler says membership program is great. You won't run out of things to learn. Won't run out of things to learn because there's so many videos.
There are thousands and thousands of videos. How many
minutes do you have in video total? How many minutes?
Don't ask me that. I can tell you.
We'll have to do that calculation.
There's probably pushing around 2,000 videos. And that's just an estimate because I haven't really kept up with it. Mm-hmm. But each week I have published, since the website started in 2009, I have put out at least 2 videos. Well, the membership program didn't start really until 2010 or 2011. But ever since then, I've put out 2 videos for members every single week at the very minimum. Mm-hmm. That does not include the course videos and the ebooks and everything else. So
it not only is it all the archives, but regularly updated videos. Each week you're going to get something new.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yep, definitely.
All right, super.
All right. Well, I'm ready to start drawing, I guess.
Yeah, let's take a look at that acorn.
Let's go ahead and switch over. All righty. We don't need that timer up just quite yet. That made me a little nervous seeing it up there, popping up there.
Oh, it's begun. Draw.
Not so fast, timer. Anyway, the paper I'm working on tonight is a Strathmore toned gray paper. This is the 400 series paper. I do think they use recycled materials in here. It's got a little bit of it. You can kind of see a little bit of a pattern of little hairy looking things in there.
Threads in there.
Yeah, it gives the paper an interesting kind of look. Anyway, we're going to be covering up this whole space here. This is 6 inches by 5 inches, which is almost proportional to the reference. Not quite, but it's pretty close. I kind of simplified the math because I don't like doing.
And you
math.
don't have a developed background, so that's not so important that they match.
No, but perfectly. I am going to use some of the white charcoal in the background. I think I'm going to fill in this background. We're going to see how the acorn turns out as far as contrast with the background, and as long as the values are dark enough up here on this area, then I'm probably going to add that white background. I really love doing that with the white charcoal.
I think you did that with the motorcycle drawing.
Yeah, the motorcycle drawing was on black paper.
That was on black. Okay.
But I did fill in the background, for sure. So I'm going to be using a variety of different forms of charcoal to complete this drawing. I'm going to be using vine charcoal.
All right.
And that's VINE charcoal. And vine charcoal is the looser, softer form of charcoal. It's also the charcoal that looks more natural because that's what it is. But you can see I've got a couple of sizes here. This charcoal is very soft. It's very easy to spread around the surface. It's very easy to erase. So I'm going to start off with the vine charcoal, and then I'll work my way into using some of the compressed charcoal, and that will be in charcoal pencil form here. So the compressed charcoal is a little bit easier to control. It's not quite as dusty or messy, but it's darker and it's more permanent. So I don't want to start with the compressed charcoal. I want to start with the vine charcoal so that I can kind of be a little bit loose in the beginning and then kind of tighten things up as we go along. And of course, since we're working on gray paper, we need something to apply the lighter values. If we just worked with dark charcoal, our lightest value would be the tone of the paper, and that's not going to be very representational. So I have some white compressed charcoal for that as well. Now this comes in pencil form and also in stick form. I'll be using both forms of the white charcoal. And I also have some blending stumps here. I have an assortment of blending tools. There's actually 2 blending stumps and 1 blending tortillon. And the difference here is blending tortillons are rolled up pieces of paper. You'll notice that one end has a tip and the other end has kind of a tucked in piece of paper kind of thing here, because this is a rolled up paper. And the blending stumps are actually compressed paper, probably recycled paper, more like paper pulp, and they have two sides to blend. Now, I've obviously used these before. I don't think I have any blending stumps that or blending tools that haven't been used before. And the last thing I'll say is about my Band-Aids.
Did you see those comments?
No, I haven't seen the comments, but
there have been. Andrea said, "Did you have a pencil sharpener accident?" And I thought she was referring to the way you whittle your pencils down with a knife, but then she put those. That's a lot of Band-Aids.
Those of you who are in the membership program and see a lot of my lessons, you'll notice that my right hand is. Look how pristine my left hand is. You see that?
He keeps it in his pocket all the time.
But my right hand is often ripped up. I'm sure you're laughing at this, but I have to. It's because I work with my hands, but I do like work with my hands outside of art.
Right.
And in this particular case, my daughter hit a deer the other night coming home from college, and she messed up her bumper. So I had to rip out her bumper, cut up pieces, and do all kinds of stuff in the driveway. And it's freezing cold here. So my hands just got ripped all to shreds, and I'm sure they'll get ripped up all to shreds when I have to replace the parts. But anyway, I am wearing these Band-Aids to protect you from seeing my innards, my innards of my hand, the inner workings of my hand there. And believe it or not, these Band-Aids were put on fresh not too long ago. So, just sorry for that. But I think the Band-Aids are better to be seen and not heard than the alternative.
Band-Aids are better to be seen and not heard.
Right. At least they're close to the skin tone.
Yeah, it's close. I like to get the camouflage ones. You can't see those at all.
Right. Exactly. All right. So I'm going to have 45 minutes to create this drawing here. And I told you that I cheated a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And that's because you might remember this is the wheel, okay? And this is the Acorn image. Now, you can't see the full Acorn image, but it really is lacking a focal point. And a lot of the values are actually similar in the image. And so I decided to take the concept of Acorn.
Right. It's like you said, it's a very similar angle.
Right. It's similar angle.
Just slightly different lighting.
Yeah. But I'm taking the concept of Acorn here, and that's the one that we're going to be using. And Buddy says, LOL, Matt, isn't going through other stuff enough for you? You have no idea. I think I tore my MCL, actually.
Matt actually has a brace on his knee right now. We just weren't going to bring that up, but
yeah.
Continues.
Yeah, Dale says he uses gloves. Yeah, I have gloves, but I only use them when I'm dealing with fluids, really. I don't use... I have mechanic gloves.
I wear like mechanics gloves anytime I'm outside working.
Yeah, but they get ripped up.
I bust my knuckles up. But when the glove rips, that would have been your hand.
Yeah, okay, but they still get ripped up.
True. The problem is gloves don't heal, and Matt does. So he's going to just stick with that.
Right. Anyway, Brenda, or whoever, Buddy made that comment, all the stuff I've had to go through this year, that's the way it is for me. Odd number years are usually really good, like really incredible things happen. And I've had like incredible luck in life. And I've also had incredible bad luck in life too. And those usually happen on even number years. So we're almost done with 2020. So that's why I'm so chipper tonight. Actually, all of my other conditions are feeling pretty good. I can deal with the knee. So whatever. But anyway, so we're looking forward to 2023. Things are already turning up. The Panthers are one game out of first place in the NFL. They're going to take down Tom Brady and the Bucs, and they're going to be in first place. And now that I said that, that's not going to happen. But anyway.
You've said it on air, so it's over. It's over.
I'm a big American football fan.
Try kitchen knife gloves.
Tried kitchen knife gloves.
Those must be tough.
Yeah, I've got those laying around.
Yeah.
Some Kevlar gloves, some shark skin gloves. What are those? Those. They make a suit that's supposedly shark resistant.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I need to wear one of those on my hands all the time.
Yeah.
Anyway,
earlier Brent does art. You want to start the timer and start drawing?
Yeah, I do, actually. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start the timer.
Brent Does Art had mentioned that he thought this could have been done in sanguine as well. And yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it could.
That'd actually be kind of close to the natural color of an acorn.
Yeah, that's very true. But I drew charcoal, so... That is what I am using here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to figure out where I want the top edge of that little acorn cap to be. And with this fine charcoal, I can be really loose with it. You can see I can just wipe it away if it's not really where I want it to be. And I just noticed I don't have a kneaded eraser out here. So might have to reach into the drawer to grab one of those in just a minute. This is kind of in the middle part of the composition here. And it kind of comes down, and then the bottom part is kind of right here. So, you could draw a line straight across if that helps you to kind of figure out where that is. A kind of a light line. And then you can kind of get the curvature if you want. Here, you'll notice that I'm also holding this charcoal not like a pencil. So I'm not holding it like this. I'm holding the side of the charcoal. I'm using it more like a pastel stick. Mm-hmm. Now this is a pretty basic shape. So I think most of the work tonight is going to be on, developing the values and as a result, the texture and also the detail that exists on this acorn. I'm wondering, some people call it, I guess everybody calls it acorn, right?
Acorn.
Right.
Acorn.
Acorn?
I call it an acorn.
What is it? It's a pecan that some people call pecan, right?
Yeah, but it's a pecan.
Is it? Are you sure?
Yeah, it's a pecan.
Or are you just being a pronunciation snob?
I'm positive.
Like let me tell you, there are a ton of pronunciation snobs in the world. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to give a cookie.
It's just a bunch of different accents, really, I guess.
I've used this reference before, actually, in one of the courses that I've developed. And I'm going to give a virtual cookie, to whoever can say in the comments what course this acorn is from. Now, don't cheat. Don't go. Don't go looking for it.
Just use your memories.
Let's see. And to make things even more dramatic, this photo reference is not in the same orientation as the way I used it in the course.
Okay. Okay. There's a hint.
So
we've got some comments. I'll catch up while you guys put your thinking caps on. Edie says the shark-resistant suit is made of chainmail. Edie, I looked up chainmail shirts the other day, and they're not as expensive as I thought they would be. I'm going to be wearing one soon.
That is something you would look up, isn't it? I would love a chainmail shirt.
They're not as expensive as you think. Buddy says Sunday night. Oh, I missed that. Well, she said, I believe Sunday night is from now until February is dedicated to her husband watching men roll around in mud, chasing a strange ball. So, and I'm paraphrasing because the comment rolled off the screen.
Well, that's not football.
I guess that's American football or rugby. Both of those are strange shaped balls.
It can't be football because
there's no mud anymore.
Right, they're all astroturf.
They're all playing on plastic grass here in the United States. So.
I'm a huge football fan. And
by the way, Jan says Ashley is right. It is pronounced pecan.
It is Jan. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Pecan. Thank you for that. Thanks for backing me up.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, I'm sure there's people that call it pecan, right?
There are people that say that.
Yeah.
You can say it however you want, or you can be right.
Well, I mispronounce so many things anyway.
When I say pecan, but when in reference to pie, I say it the other way. Pecan pie. I can't help it. Which is what I heard growing up.
There's not a lot of times when I have to use the word anyway. So I think I say pecan.
Gosh, I think we have a pecan pie. I think we have one of those at almost every family get together in my family.
Oh yeah,
pretty popular.
Yeah,
on my wife's side. And
well, I want to get back to you looking up chainmail.
Okay. Subjects in ink.
Yes, who got it?
Now. The chat box has been moving, so I might have missed, but I think Hoot and Holler got it with subjects in ink.
Let me scroll back here and see. I just watched it last night. Nice.
All right. So that was Miggs. That's right. Miggs NJ subjects with ink. Okay, so that may have been the first couple of gold stars.
I I can't see it there. I can't see who got it there. Anyway, it is from the core Subjects with Pen and Ink. So.
Miggs NJ, I believe, was the first, and then Hoot and Holler was a close second.
All right, well, a virtual cookie to you guys there. All right, so let me just tell you what I've done here. I'm not going to be too overly concerned with making sure this distance is exactly the same proportion as it needs to be up here or anything like that. Because I'm kind of drawing this quickly, of course. This is sketchy. But I drew this with the Vine charcoal, and then I quickly and loosely erased it with the kneaded eraser here. So I got kind of a ghost image in place that's still pretty loose. Now I'm going to start working on some of these darker values. I'm going to worry about the details as we start to develop some of the values. So I'm not worried about the details. I'm just looking at some of the dark to medium dark values at this point.
You're kind of looking through all that texture.
I'm looking through all that texture, and then I'm going to start pulling it out once I got some of these darker values in place. And this
like
Vine charcoal
hair or anything else that has a distinct texture pattern, you have to look past all that at first for broader values.
Right, I'm thinking in terms of form, like there is no texture.
Yeah.
And let's see here. We're going to have some of these darker tones on the bottom too. I am kind of thinking about the directional strokes that I'm making though, especially on this part of the Acorn, because we do have kind of a linear quality that's going on there. So I'm going to kind of pull the strokes in that same linear fashion there. And then we'll just do a quick little blend here with the finger. So we got a little bit of tone there to begin with.
Yeah, and you're pulling all those strokes in the direction that you see.
Yes, and I'm also pulling the strokes.
It's smooth. The Acorn is smooth, but we can still see sort of a woody kind of banded stripy effect on there.
Yeah, banded stripy effect is exactly what I was thinking. Now, if you squint your eyes and look at the subject, you can see that. I need to go back over the top of this. And this little top part of the Acorn is a little bit darker. Our light source is coming from this direction. So that's why we have a cast shadow underneath here, and we have highlights up here. So since the top part of the Acorn cap, is rounded, we have lighter values right here. Of course, there's a darker value, darker edge that happens right here, but then we've got these darker values up here on the top.
Our discussion on how you pronounce pecan or pecan has evolved into a discussion of how you pronounce Appalachian.
Oh, it is Appalachian.
Yeah.
I
think it was, I don't know, gosh, I can't remember who brought it up. It might have been Lori at first. So here it is. I'm originally from New York. I got slammed for my pronunciation of Appalachian.
Yeah, it is not Appalachia.
Right. So Edie has written, I'm from New York City, where I still live. I've always pronounced it, and then now she has sounded it out phonetically. Appalachian.
No, it's Appalachian.
I know what you mean. Appalachian. I hear that. Appalachian mountain chain. Some people say Appalachia to refer to the like it's like sort of the region, because it's covers quite a few states. That's another one of those tough words. A couple of ways people say it in different areas.
That is one that people who actually live in Appalachia.
Yeah.
That's probably totally wrong. But it is Appalachian. I have not heard anybody that goes to App State call it Appalachian State.
Yeah. No.
They would get thrown out.
You get kicked back to the coast.
And I know because my dad, my mom, my sister, and my cousin all went to Appalachian State University.
There you go. All right, let's see. Melody says, Matt, did you watch Baker Mayfield's debut with
I
the
did,
Rams?
and that
Thoughts?
is just further proof of how terrible of a coach Matt Rule is. Steve Wilkes is a fantastic coach. He needs to be the Panthers head coach. I have this platform to talk about
Well,
the
she
Panthers
does say,
here.
just short answer, since it's not art related. She's trying to rein you in.
Right. But remember, you can ask any question that you want. Doesn't have to be about what we're doing tonight. And, I'll leave the art related part out. But yeah, I like Baker Mayfield. I don't think he fit very well in the Panthers scheme. And I don't think anybody fits very well in Matt Rule's scheme, whatever scheme that is. So I'm glad Baker Mayfield has had some success in the Rams game, but in the only Rams game he's played in. But I will say that he did do some of the Baker Mayfield things on that final drive that he did in Carolina. He threw an interception, but that was called back for a penalty. Then he was sacked for like a loss of 15 yards, but that was a penalty. So if those two things wouldn't have happened, the miraculous comeback by Baker Mayfield also wouldn't have happened. But I'm glad that Baker Mayfield is having some success in LA. And I hope that he continues to be successful there. I think he's a good guy. I think he's gone through a bunch of junk, and I like and admire his resilience. So, yeah, I like that. I'm also glad he doesn't play for the Panthers anymore.
You should start another show where when the Panthers play, you just broadcast on YouTube. As though you're calling the show.
Oh, gosh. You don't want to see me while I'm watching a Panthers game. It is not...
You're a basket case, aren't you?
I am beyond a basket case. All right. So now we've got a little bit of form going on here with the vine charcoal. I think actually we're ready to probably start refining things a little bit and start bringing out that texture. Maybe even switch over to some of the compressed charcoal. We're probably going to start with some of the white compressed charcoal here. Let's just get the end here kind of hashed out a little bit more. Using the kneaded eraser here just to clean up the edge and define the boundaries of our acorn a little bit more. And these little objects of nature are wonderful subjects for your sketchbook. They're usually made up of forms that seem simple, but then when you start actually executing the drawing, you realize that they're a little bit more complex than you may have originally thought. And that makes for a really great challenge because you are really forced to look at the subject. And that is what drawing and painting is really all about. It's really all about observation and understanding how you see the world around you so that you can replicate it in a drawing and fool the eyes of your viewer here.
Well, Brent Desart says, already looks like a good acorn.
Oh, well, thanks.
The form is in place. The form is in place.
I'm going to go ahead and start using the kneaded eraser since I have it in hand to start removing some of the charcoal up here at the top so we can kind of get a start of the texture that we're going to create here.
Funky Groove E50 has said that the Rams are too late, sadly, and go Chiefs.
Yeah, but the Rams had their year last year. So yeah, my son's a big Patrick Mahomes fan, but who isn't? How can you not be a Patrick Mahomes fan? What a great guy, excellent athlete, just phenomenal. But I think this is the year for the Eagles. I think the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl if they could stay healthy. I think they're probably more than likely going to face the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, but I think the Eagles are going to win. That's not what I want to happen, though. Of course, I want the Panthers to make some miraculous moves and first get in the playoffs and then beat everybody. Don't think that will happen. But it's possible. It's possible. All right.
Keith asks, do you find it frustrating that charcoal, particularly vine, continuously smudges during drawing?
No, I don't, because that's it's a trade-off.
Yeah, it's part of the medium.
Right.
It is constantly evolving, that vine charcoal, while you work.
If it didn't move around on the surface like it does, then it wouldn't be so malleable. And that's one of the things that I like about it is it is really like a painting medium in so many ways, and you could just move it around.
Now, Keith, I'll tell you that I used to do When I was in college, we did almost all of our drawing in charcoal, and we did almost all of it vertical, so that we didn't have the tendency to rest our arms or our hands on our artwork. We were less likely to. And I could kind of hang on to the side of the drawing board, for some support instead of leaning on the table. And so that might help you draw more vertically, so your hand just kind of floats in front of the surface instead of lays down on top of it. And of course, not the live lesson that we're doing right now at thevirtualinstructor.com right after this show, but the previous live lesson, I did a charcoal drawing, and I used a bridge to keep my hand off of the artwork. You can buy them. They're clear, made of plexiglass on Amazon, I think for like $18 or $28. I can't remember, but I think it ends in an 8. But I make bridges, which is basically, I make them out of erasers and a strip of wood, sometimes just a heavy ruler that won't bend, and just tape the erasers to the end so that I can lay it over my artwork and rest my hand on it, especially when I'm working with charcoal or vine charcoal or pastel. So you could give that a shot, one of those two.
All right, I'm going to start putting some hints of white charcoal in here just so we can have a little bit more of a broader range of value and tone, and probably going to be doing some blending here too, and also reaching for the compressed charcoal in pencil form in just a minute, the dark compressed charcoal.
Dale says there are around 600 different oak tree species, and I think they all make different looking acorns, and the wood makes good looking tables. Sure does. Oak is fantastic. I love oak trees. My yard is full of 22 oak trees. Lots of acorn. You have no idea how many acorns are in my backyard right now. There are places that I can stand in my backyard where my feet won't touch the ground because the acorns completely block the ground. But I've made a bow out of a piece of oak, so really, really sturdy wood for woodworkers.
Now, I want to know why you were looking up chainmail shirts the other day. Were you wanting to create a knight uniform
I did.
or something?
It was my son's Halloween costume.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so he dressed up as a knight, and he was going to wear a gray sweatshirt underneath his tunic, and I said, no. That looks horrible. That doesn't look like chainmail at all. And so we ended up looking up chainmail. I did not get him chainmail. I got him fake chainmail, which is like this foamy shirt that had shimmery parts in it, that goes with a knight's costume. But the chainmail shirts were, I don't know, maybe a couple $100, which I thought was pretty good for a shirt that stopped swords. Or shark's teeth, possibly.
Right, because
these were steel. These were steel links.
That's really necessary today.
They were the real thing. Yeah.
There's all kinds of rogue black knights running around, fighting people with swords.
Not letting you pass, and fight them across the bridge. I don't know. There's some places you might want to wear a chainmail shirt. I've traveled. I've been in some places that I wish I'd had a chainmail shirt.
I guess it would jingle and jangle and stuff when you're walking around.
They'll hear you coming, I guess. But pretty cool.
You imagine walking into a convenience store and just...
I was just surprised that anybody makes them. And then my son started showing me these videos on YouTube, Matt, of men that actually fight each other in a square ring with swords and warhammers and shields, and they wear legit armor.
Now, I don't doubt that at all.
And those of you that are from Europe, you've probably seen it because it's more popular there, but there's an American team now, and they're doing okay. So I've just started to get into it.
You're getting into it.
This is why I'm looking up the chainmail shirts.
You're going to be fighting grown men with swords and chainmail?
All right. I can't remember what it's called. It's some sort of a sport now. All right, let's see. Enrique says, search in Google for pecan, but I find that this photo is from an acorn. Is it correct? Yeah, this is not a pecan. This is an acorn, yeah. This is an acorn. Not to be confused with a pecan. Totally different nut. I'm not exactly sure how we started talking about one.
Well, I was thinking about different pronunciations of acorn for some reason, but I was confusing it with pecan.
Yeah.
Because some people say pecan, and I think you can pecan, the different pronunciations of that.
We're going to talk about the pecan all night. All right. Funky Groove E50 says, Grandma had a gumball tree. What a fun chore. My grandmother had a gumball tree too, and they are a real pain to clean up underneath. those little spiky balls. They're called gumballs, but they're not really sticky. They're spiky. Okay, Edie says a chainmail shirt might be good to wear on the subway lately. True. And it's thin. It's not too bulky, so no one will know you have it on.
It's thin and not too bulky. Yeah.
Mike C says squirrel hunt at Ashley's backyard. That's right. I have a lot of squirrels, and a lot of squirrels.
Well, I know what you mean about the acorns, because I have like
It's
2 or
dangerous
3
back
oak
there.
trees in my yard.
Yeah, I'm afraid
and
I'm
they're
going to
really
get
big.
sued. Someone's going to slip on them.
But yeah, the acorns, they can cause a big mess. But the bigger mess are the leaves. Of course, you have trees that are really big.
But worth the shade. I love my summer shade. Okay, Keith says, I tried some real chainmail once in a Viking summer school, and it weighed a ton.
Wait a minute.
Viking
summer school?
I'm writing that down.
What do they do in the wintertime?
That sounds awesome. Did Vikings go to summer school when they fail regular school? Sometimes we have summer school for kids who failed a course. I'm just joking.
Viking summer school.
That sounds fun. All right, let's see. Buddy says, Matt, you once said you cannot have enough colored pencils during the last years with... Oh, that one scrolled off. Can you go back? It was a longer comment. And it was art-related. So I got myself a whole bunch of colored pencils, just drawing the Fisher King, or I'm sorry, the Kingfisher, and still not the colors needed. Ouch!
Oh,
with all those colors and still don't have the colors you need.
Well, you can get colors that are similar or close, or really what's more important is matching the values, not necessarily the exact same color. When I'm doing a drawing, I seldomly match the color exactly. It's usually just trying to get close to the value. And if you get close to the right value, usually everything turns out all right. All right, so let's do a little bit of blending here. So I'm going to use the blending tortilla.
When you get a chance, scroll back down so that the chat doesn't stay immobile. There we go.
And I saw when I glanced up there, somebody asked what type of pencil I'm using. It's a white charcoal pencil. And I'll be using a dark charcoal pencil in just a second here. So we're basically starting with a gray paper, and then as we add both dark and light material to the surface, we're expanding the range of value and also increasing the contrast. So I'm going to come back with some compressed dark charcoal in just a minute, and that is going to greatly broaden the range of value. And also, as I do so, the texture that we're creating here hopefully is going to be a little bit stronger and more solid. Make a little bit more sense. I don't want to blend all of this. I want to have some blended areas and some areas that aren't completely blended.
Funky Groove says we might lose me in the middle of the season due to sword fighting, and that I should be careful because I am the other half of this sketchy project. That's true. My son is on my wife and I to sign him up for fencing. And so we're getting close. We're getting close to sword fighting around my house. The only problem is that the fencing lessons are about 30 minutes away, and I really don't want to drive that far. So we'll see.
How are the drum lessons going? Still?
Well, the drum lessons are going well, actually. We're doing more music reading and stuff like that now, so it's becoming more complex. Shane says, what do you guys do when you get a brand new kneaded eraser that is too hard to knead? I warm them up in my hands, and I spend some time kind of stretching and squeezing them, and usually they get more flexible after you kind of warm them up. I noticed I used Matt's kneaded eraser a couple of weeks ago, and it had been, I don't know how long it had been in his drawer. It hadn't been kneaded around, but it seemed a little harder at first, and it warmed up. And it's an old, and the reason I bring it up is it's very old.
This is not
Look at that.
old.
Look how dark that is.
It's still got lots of life in it.
It's got pounds of charcoal inside of it. My kneaded eraser is so light, it's almost brand new.
You're being a kneaded eraser snob.
First, I'm a pronunciation snob, and now I've moved on to the erasers. So I'm going to turn over a new leaf. I'll be more accepting next week.
You know what's worse than a pronunciation snob? A pronunciation snob wearing a chainmail T-shirt.
But he says, did you ever consider to use tinted charcoal pencils? We've seen those. Who makes those?
Somebody was mentioning
the tinted charcoal. I've never used somebody.
I guess
they're kind of like a low chroma color, right?
They would have to be.
Yeah, they would have to be.
I've never used them. I've used tinted graphite before, but not tinted charcoal.
I'm wondering if I'm getting it confused with tinted graphite because they're kind of low chroma too.
Okay, so the compressed charcoal is obviously a lot darker. Hopefully you can see that and tell the difference. So I'm a little bit more tentative with it as I'm using it. But it can still be blended here. You can see we can soften it up a little bit.
Keith says he was doing his MA in medieval studies, and the Viking summer school in Denmark was an optional extra. Okay, that explains it.
I'm not sure that fully explains it.
I thought he was in like Viking school,
right, to be a Viking.
Of course, like in the morning is rowing, and in the evening is maybe pillaging,
troll hunting.
No.
Didn't the Vikings aren't they? You've heard of Viking lore?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
troll hunting?
Don't they? I don't know why I'm thinking about trolls and Vikings.
I think the Vikings mostly hunted the English, if I'm not mistaken. So just during periods of time. A lot of moving around through history, right? And so have we settled? I doubt it. People are still moving around, even more now.
The pattern on here is a very irregular pattern, so I don't have to make it exactly the same as what I'm seeing. I'm just trying to kind of capture the essence of what's happening here.
Yeah.
And what's important here is that it's flatter at the top, and the shapes get larger as you work your way down. That's kind of what I'm seeing here. And I'm just kind of reinforcing some of the little subtle lines that happen between these and putting a little bit of shadow there to make them appear a little bit more raised. And then I can take the blending stump and soften them down if it's a little bit too strong. So just adding a little bit more of a range of value to make these little ridges feel a little bit more convincing. And of course, we're going to get a lot darker over here.
I love to get lost in little patterns like that. This reminds me of the pattern on the front of the Converse shoe I drew a couple seasons ago. It's just more irregular, but it's very similar. It's almost like these little shapes with another row of shapes above them that kind of fit in the gap between the shapes either below or above those. Almost like the way that they're staggered, like a brick pattern. Kind of reminds me of that, but not quite as organized.
And even in these dark areas, there's variety. So even though we kind of put a dark application over here, we can still make some of these values a little bit darker to define the pattern, even in the dark side. Even on the dark side. Let me think of Darth Vader.
Buddy follows up and says those tinted charcoals are by Derwent. So if anybody's interested in checking those out, and I might look at those myself because I love the feel of charcoal. That really dry quality. I mean, a lot of people don't.
Feel of charcoal.
It's kind of scratchy.
Our lives.
Nobody's seen that commercial.
Somebody has seen that commercial. I mean, that was like...
Wait a minute.
It was like 1995.
Was that...
Aaron Neville?
That's right.
Yeah.
Aaron Neville with the 40-inch arm, right? Had huge arms, super high-pitched voice, and he sang about...
Touch the feel of charcoal.
Dale says he thinks that this is a northern red oak acorn, but he's not sure. It looks like the acorns in my yard. I've got a huge white oak in the front yard and a huge red oak in the backyard, and then a bunch of other oak trees that are probably 50 years younger and not nearly as big as the other two. And they're so close together, they get the acorns mixed up. I'm gonna have to look harder and see if I can determine the difference between my red and white oak acorns.
Don't get me started with red oak and white oak. You've heard that story, right?
No, what are you talking about?
When we did the flooring in the glass room.
Oh yeah.
And
oh,
the contractor put down red oak. Yeah. The contractor put down red oak when we have white oak in our house, so it didn't match.
Yeah.
And they said it'll change over time. I said, no, that's a different type of wood you've laid down. And he argued with me, and I had to bring in a wood flooring inspector.
An expert.
This is somebody who exists, and that's his whole job. And it was $700 for him to come out
and give you his expertise.
And he came out, and it was like an episode. It was like the end of an Agatha Christie novel. The wood flooring inspector looked at the floors a little bit. The contractor was there. The contractor's wife was there. The contractor's wife's dad was there.
Boy, it sounds like a rumble. Rumble in the Bronx. Gangs were getting together, factions against one another.
It was like an inquisition at the end of a murder mystery. And the wood flooring inspector showed me and proved to everyone that we actually did have white oak in the house, and they actually installed red oak. So they had to pull up the flooring, and when they pulled up the flooring, they discovered that the floors had been leaking, or the whole room had been leaking. So they had to not only replace the flooring, but they also had to replace the subfloor, and then they had to take out all the glass. This whole room is glass. They had to take out all the glass and reinstall it properly. So if they would have not put down the wrong floors, if they would have put down the right floors, God knows how many years we would have gone with that room leaking and not known about it. So again, that is an example of when things go wrong, but they are for your benefit.
They worked out.
They worked out. Right. We were protected from catastrophe down the road because of the mistake of the contractor. So anyway, so there is a difference between red oak and white oak.
Yes.
And it's very visible in the flooring.
Ernest says to go Viking was to go raiding. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what you do.
Do you really need a school for that?
All right. Edie says oak trees grow for 300 years, enter stasis for 300 years, then decline for 300 years. Edie, I know of an oak tree that is at the end of its declining period. It's still alive, and it's the oldest tree in the county that Matt and I live in. It's believed to be a little bit over 1,000 years old. And I've been inside of it many times because it's completely hollow and has no top. It's fallen apart. It's massive. Massive.
You've been inside of it.
A couple of times. In fact, during the American Civil War, a man and his cow hid inside of this oak tree while Union soldiers passed by.
I thought you were going to say during the American Civil War, you were in the tree hiding. In one of your previous lives.
No. Now this, so you used to be able to get a whole cow and a person in there, but since then that's been 160 years or so. Since then, the opening is closed up so that you could not get a cow through it anymore. But people can still get in. You can still get 8 or 12 people in there. So I was in there last summer. And my daughter was in there with me, and I turned on my camera light,
I think you've told me this.
And I turned around to face the wood wall behind me, and inches from my face, I put the camera right on a spider that must have been, leg to leg, 4 inches across. It was a huge wolf spider, is what it was. But it was so scary being in that 1,000-year-old tree, and then having that, and I like spiders, and it was still a little scary. So oak trees, yeah, they can live a super long time. Thanks for those facts.
Okay, so you can see I'm exaggerating some of the linear qualities of this just a bit. So I'm putting down some of the compressed charcoal and then using the blending stump to pull in the same direction. So many people will try to blend in a different direction than the way they apply the material. And you want to think about your blending stump as a mark-making tool. In fact, I can take this blending stump and in areas where I have subtle changes in value without any material there.
Yeah,
That's
a lot of material on the
That's actually pretty strong. Yeah. I can pull some of this up here. And that was supposed to make a subtle change in value.
You might have to break out the needed eraser.
Might have to erase a little bit of that.
All right, Art says, what is your favorite drawing that you have made? And also, what is your favorite animal? We could put those together if your favorite drawing is an animal.
No, I've been asked this a bunch of times, and I think my favorite drawing is one that I've done. My favorite drawing that I've done is a live lesson series where we drew this tree, and we're looking up at the tree. It's in graphite, and I think it's my favorite drawing that I've done. I have a lot of favorites, but that one I think is one of the ones that I enjoy looking at. It's in a prominent position in my house, and I just love it. It's actually in the glass room that's surrounded by trees, so it's appropriate to be in there.
Yeah.
But that's definitely mine.
My favorite drawing is it's two drawings that were done as an assignment in college that were more of an experience I had with my drawings. I was supposed to draw the same still life, and I was supposed to use black charcoal on white paper and then redo the drawing with white charcoal on black paper and try to get the values to match as closely as possible between the two drawings. So I set up a still life that had almost all smooth subject matter so that I was able to do like Matt's doing a little bit with the stump and kind of, in this case, kind of work the strokes out. So there wasn't a whole lot of evident or visible mark making in there. And because of that, after I was finished with the drawings, and I worked so long on both of these drawings, I can still see them. I can still see both of them laying next to each other. And when I laid them next to each other for the first time and was looking at them and comparing them for a minute, I got confused and couldn't tell which was on the black paper and which was on the white paper. And that was a real breakthrough moment for me in terms of working with values and seeing values and being accurate and controlling the values. And so I loved those two drawings, and I kept them for a really long time. I still have one, and the corner got tore off of it by a dog that was my wife's. So it's a little sore spot. I still have the drawing, and I still have the corner.
Do you still have the dog?
No, the dog has passed away, and he's in a little box in our living room.
You weren't responsible for that, were you?
No. I've had a number of drawings destroyed by either dogs or my brother. Yeah. Let's see. Melody says, Matt, not the lizard man? I remember that lizard man.
No, I like the lizard man. Yeah. He's also hanging up too, but that's not my favorite drawing. I don't think that the drawing of the tree is anybody else's favorite drawing, but it is. I think mine. I think that's my favorite. Pencil tree.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's a really good drawing. It's hanging upstairs, right?
Yeah. Got a lot of leaves.
Yeah, I like that drawing.
A lot of leaves in there. And I took a photograph of a tree when I was jogging one morning, and that's what we used. You kind of looking up at the tree. Yeah. So, all right, now it's time to finish this up with the background.
All right. So that's what we've been waiting on.
I told you that I wasn't sure if I was going to finish the background or not, but in my mind, I kind of knew all along that I was probably going to finish the background. But
I really like the way you handled the textured area of the acorn. That's really nice.
Thanks. I'm going to add a few more little specks here of stronger light here before. There's just a little bit more variety where light is hitting it there. But I knew that I probably would, the bulk of the acorn would be kind of grayish, and it doesn't seem like it, but when I start adding this white charcoal, you're going to really see the contrast and how dark these values actually are. They seem lighter than they probably are right now,
compared to the reference right now.
Right. So also using the white charcoal here is going to allow me to clean up the edge and make everything a lot sharper. So
Edie asks, are wolf spotters dangerous to people, please? I don't believe that. I don't believe so. They're just huge and scary. And if you drop something on them, they ball up into a little ball. They pull their legs up underneath them and die. It's sad.
Yeah, I don't think wolf spiders are dangerous at all.
Yeah, I don't think so. Melody says, Ashley, not Carl. Carl is one of my favorite drawings. It is definitely one of my favorite drawings. That's the most recent drawing that I finished over at the Virtual Instructor during a live lesson. Funky Groove E50 says, what is the least and most archival medium for the sake of being able to sell art for a living?
Before we tackle that interesting question, we forgot to say what our favorite animal is.
We did. Okay. Well, I can tell you. All right, I'm making a note. Archival medium. Okay. So, favorite animal for me, I've got two favorite types, and they're birds of prey and big cats.
Oh God.
So, and it's hard to choose between them. I think of all the birds of prey, I have some hawks living in my backyard right now. It's a family, and one of the biggest hawks I've ever seen is living in my backyard right now. But I think I'm partial to owls because they're the silent killers. They make almost no sound while they fly. And as far as the big cats go, oh gosh, probably a puma, something like that. Leopards, pumas, those types of big cats. Those are my faves.
For me, I think I like unique animals, like an ostrich. Bet you didn't expect that one, huh?
He went up to
I
my
like
big
crabs
bird.
too.
He said, oh yeah, I like an even bigger bird. How about an ostrich?
Yeah,
that's a big bird.
I think crabs are pretty cool.
Crabs, yeah.
Yeah.
Now I didn't mention octopus, but ever since
octopuses,
ever since I took Matt's advice and watched Octopus Teacher, I have just can't get enough of octopi.
Yeah, they're cool.
I am just amazed at their level of creativity.
There's so many there's so many wonderful animals that it's hard to narrow it down. I love insects too. I think insects live in a whole bizarre world that is just
it's
crazy.
An alien world. It's
right.
a real alien world. Yeah.
That most people really just don't have any clue about. But I'm not saying that I'm an insect expert, but I do.
But you do like to draw bugs.
I do love drawing bugs. Yeah, I think they
have interesting shaped
cool.
parts. So
pretty cool. All right, so I'm putting down this white charcoal pretty loosely, but I'm gonna smooth it out with the blending stump here.
This Acorn is proof that you can draw or paint any subject with almost any medium, Buddy says.
Oh, thanks, Buddy.
That's right. There are certain media that seem to lend themselves to particular subjects, but you're right, Buddy. And you can use any media as long as it can make lightness and darkness happen. It can make a drawing or painting happen. It's all about value.
Yeah. I do get questions from time to time about people asking, I'm going to do this subject matter, what medium should I use?
Yeah.
And that's a good answer. You can really use any medium that you wish. I mean, the images that we chose this season, we obviously chose them with certain mediums in mind. And then when the wheel didn't cooperate, it was like a catastrophe in our own minds. But yeah. You really can if you.
Now you can't use any media in any subject in 45 minutes,
Right.
There are some media may take more work than others to pull off with specific subject matter, but it's definitely true.
All right. Now, what was that other question about archival things?
Yeah, like the sort of most archival. Media or medium or support like paper, canvas that maybe for sales purposes to explain to purchasers. And of course, it's important to note that most all art material is archival past a lifetime. I mean, oil paint is not that stable compared to acrylic paint, in my opinion. But we still have oil paintings that look pretty good after 400 years. There are a lot of cracking, but they can all be repaired. I'm going to guess that acrylic paint is the most durable art media, period.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We don't know for sure because we haven't
had time
stood the test of time,
but it's got to. All signs point to plastic doesn't break down easily.
Right.
We know that because of, we have a lot of reasons to believe that. And we can, at least look with our own eyes, we can see that plastic, even cheap plastics that are meant to be disposable, don't break down that easily. And acrylic paint is not supposed to break down at all, so it's made to be permanent. So I would say that I'm going to go with acrylic as a medium. Now, you may also would include acrylic inks in, like, with paper, like if you're working with some sort of archival papers, maybe Arches paper. And as far as the most archival paper, I couldn't say. I'm going to guess just the major brands, Reeves and Canson and Arches. They probably all make comparably archival paper, and then some sort of acrylic inks may be painted onto those, would be possibly more permanent than watercolor. That's just my guess.
Yeah, just look on the labeling of the paper, or if the paper you're buying doesn't have any labeling, look it up with the manufacturer. And if it says that it's archival and acid-free, most of the time you'll see either acid-free or archival. You don't normally, well, I guess some manufacturers put archival and acid-free on there, but if it says it's archival, I would take their word for it and not overthink it too much. I think a lot of people overthink the archival thing, and it makes their heads blow up.
Yeah.
So don't let that happen to you.
As long as it lasts beyond my lifetime, I don't care. It'll be somebody else's problem, and they'll enjoy that problem. And they're called art conservators, and they fix paintings, so they're going to love it.
Right, yeah.
They're going to love it. There's a whole career out there in preserving artwork.
I think there must be some people out there who are just kind of preaching archival this, archival that, and people are getting like all up in arms over it, trying to make sure that everything is archival.
Yeah, the bicycle lady points out that casein paint has already proven to stand the test of time up to 1,000 years. That's pretty good. That's another organic material that should be breaking down, and it's lasted 1,000 years. The tempera paintings, the egg tempera paintings from the Middle Ages are still very vibrant, so and that is made from an egg. So it's going to have to be acrylic. Oh, I'm sorry. Jan points out that granite is the most archival medium. I'm going to agree with you there. Yep. I'm going to agree with you there.
You're going to leave marble completely out of this?
Granite.
Yeah, I wouldn't get too wrapped. I mean, you want to choose high quality materials, and most of the time when you're choosing high quality materials, they're going to be archival. They're going to be acid free. They're going to last a long time. But beyond that, don't get too obsessed over, a lot of people are getting obsessed with light fastness too.
Yeah, for a customer, just tell them it's going to last forever. Just tell them it's like the most archival thing on the planet Earth. Just tell them that. Okay, Melody says, tongue in cheek, digital art would be the easiest for archival purposes. Yes. Maybe even, I don't know. It might last even longer than granite. We'll see. Well, we won't see.
Not when the computers take over the world. Right. They'll delete everything.
Buddy says, where will all the art go in the future? I think Matt just answered that. AI will delete everything.
Yeah.
Just start over. Oh, goodness.
All right. My Acorn is finished there.
All right. Nice looking Acorn, Matt. And
thanks.
the white background made a big difference.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So you even got all the little scratches on there.
Yeah, but little scratches
roughed
on there.
up little Acorn.
Little dots and stuff. Ooh, give it some freckles. The inclusion of the white background, which is not completely white. I could put another layer over the top of that. But it really shows you how dark the Acorn actually was, just leaving the gray paper. So when we get a full range of value, we've got the lightest values and the darkest values and all the values in between, then that's what leads to the illusion of form and texture and all that stuff. So anyway, it is time now to get this Acorn out of the way, because I'm choosing to call it Acorn. An Acorn. And it's time to spin those wheels.
Spin those wheels for the last spin of the season.
Out of the way and a reference, and then we'll get this guy out of the way too.
By the way, Brenda says she loves this and that she started the chimpanzee in the charcoal course.
Oh, good. Yeah,
That's pretty recent.
I'm still working on the portrait, which will be the last the last series of lessons for that course. That is white charcoal and black paper.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so let's see. What would you like me to spin first?
Okay, let's do the subject first.
Okay.
Now we may have to spin several times because a lot of what is on the subject wheel has already been selected.
Right.
But then on the medium wheel,
Right.
everything is up for grabs. It
So-
doesn't matter if it's a repeat or not.
What we have left is the pineapple, which I'd really love you to get because I spent a lot of time photoshopping this pineapple.
Yeah, we want that pineapple to come to fruition.
Right. The pineapple, the hand holding the pastel.
Oh, that's right, the hand.
And the beta fish. Those are
Okay.
the only ones that are left.
Okay, I don't know if I have a favorite there.
So let's see if it lands on one of these three. I mean, we could be doing this for a
Yeah,
while.
yeah. All right, let's go with it.
Maybe if it doesn't land on one of those three, we
could
can
partition the wheel.
see which one is close. Pineapple.
Oh, it's the pineapple. All right.
I'm so glad it landed on the pineapple.
Did you touch that wheel?
I
Did you
did.
stop it?
No,
Okay.
I promise.
Okay. All right, it's the pineapple.
Yeah, it's just barely in the
All right,
pineapple.
now, there's some media that I don't want to get.
Okay, what media do you
So
not
let's
want to
look
get?
at the wheel. Let's look-
What this would be best with is pastels, like oil pastels.
Right, I think I think a pastel choice would be great for this. Actually,
Colored pencils would be a little complex.
Might have to work small with colored pencils.
Pen and ink would work.
Yeah,
Mixed media
not
would be
sure
great.
about charcoal.
Yeah,
I'd like to
let's hope.
I'd
Let's
prefer
not.
to get charcoal for the pineapple.
We've done a lot of charcoal this season.
Yeah,
I mean, it just ended up that way. There's been a lot of colored pencils.
yeah, that's right.
So-
or at least in spurts. So I would like to get pen and ink. Mixed media would be okay.
Yeah, mixed media would be
charcoal.
good. All right, well, let's
I'm
find
sorry,
out.
pastel.
Let's find out what it is.
All right, here we
That is
go.
the best
Here we
spin
go.
I can do here.
The future hangs in the balance.
And
All right, pen, ink, and markers. That's what I had last week.
that's been a lot too, because
That
I've
has
had
been.
that too. I've had
Pen,
that.
ink, and marker.
Is this weighted?
You've had it
Did I-
twice.
Is this
I think,
weighted?
And now I've had it twice. That's a lot. That's 40% of the season. Is that right? Did 40% land on pen, ink, and markers?
It's just
All right. Well,
what everyone wants
all right.
to see anyway.
I'll try to work in a different way than I did last week. I think last week we did some pen work near the end and we kind of started with marker.
Yeah.
I think we'll try it. I'll come up with some way to not repeat the process.
All right. So
Probably just means switching the order around.
well, you don't have to use markers.
Right.
I
I
mean,
don't
it
have
can
to
be
use,
all
I don't
pen and
have to
ink.
use marker at all.
But it's a shame because this is a wonderful color image.
Right.
But
It's a very colorful image.
do you want me to put a black and white version of it up? I mean, you can let me know what you're going to
Yeah,
use.
I'll mess around with it. I'll get the original file and play with it if we want to go black and white or not.
And
But,
Catherine
all right,
says,
that's it.
speaking of pronunciation, it's beta,
Not beta,
not bea.
beta fish, beta fish. We say beta fish, like
Right, because I thought
B-A,
beta was
beta.
like an alpha, beta. Maybe
listen, you better get it right. You
not.
better get
I
it
know.
right.
I'm going to mispronounce everything. Listen, guys, I used to
scared to
announce the
speak
football
now.
games when I was teaching high school, and I can't tell you how many people told me how terribly I pronounced their names.
Oh, I know.
And
I used to
complained all the time.
I would announce the soccer games, and I had a dad yell out from the stands the right way to pronounce his son's name.
Yeah. Well,
Screamed it out while I was calling out the names of all the students. And you know, I looked at it and I thought, the way you pronounce your name is nothing like it's spelled.
Right.
I know that you're upset about it. 'cause it's
I bet
happened
you
your
I
whole
know
life.
who was this person have some tie to the orchestra?
I don't know. We'll talk about the last name. when we're
I
not
think
on
I
air
know
anymore,
who
right?
it was.
'Cause I looked at it, it's like, how can you get mad at people
It's
for
not Parrot.
mispronouncing your name?
It's not Parrot.
No. No.
That's not the name.
Oh
it
no
was.
no.
Okay,
I know what you're doing.
You know which person I'm talking about.
No, this is a different crazy last name. So,
All right. Now James says, does that include watercolor or gouache?
that was with the
And-
mixed media, I believe. I did a gouache and pen and ink. When I
Yes,
got
you
mixed
did use
media,
gouache.
but I did use pen. This
We don't have really technically any painting media on this wheel.
No.
And that's because this show is called Getting Sketchy. And yeah, I know you can create paint sketches, but the reason why we're not doing any painting here is because this is a live show. And a lot of times with painting, especially with water-based media, you have to allow time for some of the paint to dry.
Yeah, I used the gouache because it dries so fast, and I was using pretty limited colors with the B. So there was more of like mark making, but not a whole lot of blending with a gradation. So that worked out really well with a paint media. But that's not what those are not included on the wheel.
But we will let you in that we are hoping to develop a show that won't necessarily be live, but we are hoping to have kind of a painting version of this sometime in the future.
Which would be timed paintings.
It would be timed, yeah.
That just allow for breaks for drying time. So we can kind of get a feel for, similar to what we do here on Getting Sketchy, but we don't have to turn the hair dryers on and all twiddle our thumbs for a few minutes between strokes.
Right. So it would be kind of the same kind of format, but it won't be live because painting.
But we would take questions to answer while we are while we're working. So we would still.
But we would have to have those questions beforehand.
That's right. We need them beforehand, but we still need your input to make those shows work. So that could be coming in the future. Something that's a similar format to Getting Sketchy, but with wet media.
Right. We're still trying to figure out how that works. Funky Groove 50 says play drums, actually not swords. I'm the drummer, Funky Groove. I'm the drummer.
You asked how drum lessons were going, and I said great, but those were for my daughter.
Those are for his daughter. I was asking him because I'm a drummer, and I want her to have good drumming education. Edie says it's beta, not beta.
Beta.
Beta fish.
Beta fish.
I've always wanted a beta fish. But all the fishes I find just don't live up to my standards.
They don't have any money.
None of them are good enough.
That was a corny joke.
Yeah, if you went into a pet store around here and said, "I'm looking for a betta fish," they would say, "Well, what kind of fish do you have right now? We'll be sure to find you a better fish than one that you have right now." All right, I think that's it, guys. Thanks for sticking around for the last hour. We're ready to get ready for the live lesson here. I've got to clear out all this charcoal, wash my hands, maybe change my Band-Aids. I'm not changing my Band-Aids. And get the oil pastels out and get ready for the next live broadcast. If you are not a member and you want to join us tonight, you have time to do so. Again, there's a link in the description below. You can check out the membership program. It will honestly blow you away with how much information is there. Don't get overwhelmed, but it really will. So anyway, now people are putting little dots over the A's and stuff. I don't know what that means, guys. I'm sorry. All right. You guys have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you next week as Ashley draws a pineapple with pen and ink. All right. Good night, everybody.